Jersey City Board of Education candidate and current board member Carol Harrison-Arnold sat down with Hudson County View to discuss their candidacy, starting with her first 3 years on the board.
I have been on the board for 3.5 years, and when I came into the district, one of the things that probably was the most stark reality check is that we did not have a strategic plan. $600 and something million budget and no strategic plan for how we're going to spend that money, which would explain why we were not seeing performance in our schools, would explain why so many of our children were not performing up to their full potential. And since I've been on the board, I ran to bring in new leadership, and we did that. And under that new leadership, I am very happy to say we've got some very good news this week. We are going to get a recommendation from the RACs, the Regional Achievement Centers, that 6 of our focus and priority schools, of the 16 schools that are on that list, be removed from that list. So that is showing we are closing the gap, we are raising student achievement, and doing so many other positive things in the district.
Harrison-Arnold continued on by highlighting many of the achievements the board and Dr. Lyles have made with Jersey City Public Schools.
We have seen a drop in the overall dropout rate, which would be an increase in the graduation rate. We have more students, high school students, taking AP classes, and not just taking them, passing them. More children taking PSAT prep. We have now dual credit available for all students. Before it was only for our more what they call our reward school, but now it's available for all our high school students. We have a new high school, a new STEAM high school. We have so many other things going on the elementary level. We have blended learning classrooms. We have changed the requirements for early education and that admission process and streamline that to make it easier for parents to get their children in the same schools. We have 26 new children in our system, and that says a lot about what's going on in the district, the positive changes we're seeing because of the equitable distribution of resources. That was one of the first things Dr. Lyles did when she came on board. She looked at where the need was as far as pupils, and that's where she targeted. That's where she sent the money. She also realigned the structure in 346 Claremont, and that resulted in a $500,000 savings for the district. And that structure now supports what's going on in the classroom. Strategic support teams who have content professionals who help in the schools. And there are some other initiatives as well under her mission and mandate that she started from her first, I think it was her first 60 or 90 days, what she was trying to do in engaging the community. For instance, she created a Office of Family and Community Engagement, and that is a way to help parents find the resources they need to help schools get better organized with the parent associations. There is just a lot of positive things going on in our district, and the indicators show that we are on the right track for raising student achievement across the board and hopefully getting more schools off of that RAC list.
With heavy criticism being made of graduation and dropout rates, I asked Harrison-Arnold if the district was cooking the numbers.
There is no cooking with the numbers. There have been different approaches that, were put into place when Dr. Lyles, came in. I know that Dickinson, for instance, was getting charged with all of these children who actually had left the district. They weren't following the kids. There wasn't accountability for where the kids were coming from. And when some of that, in my understanding, some of the administrative inaccuracies got cleaned up. Some of it, in my understanding, may have come from the state as well. But when those administrative inaccuracies got cleaned up, that was part of looking at those numbers differently. Graduation rates had not been captured previously, and that was my understanding. The district wasn't looking at those. And beginning to look at those numbers, we know overall those numbers are positive. They may change from year to year, from school to school, depending on at what point we're looking at them and where our children are. But the bottom line is more children are graduating, less children are dropping out than they were 5-10 years ago, and more children now are on track. We're starting to look at kids earlier to see where they are as far as their credits, to make sure they stay on track for graduation.
I followed up by asking whether she would seek to extend the contract of Dr. Lyles.
We're seeing positive changes, and we brought her on because we believed her to be a strong instructional leader. To date, the changes that she has made, as positive as they are just, as far as I'm concerned, satisfactory. Because there's so much more work that has to be done, and it's very early in the game, and I would want to, if she were interested in staying on board, to give her the opportunity to continue doing what she's doing.
Finally, Harrison-Arnold talked about what she plans to achieve in the next 3 years if elected. Additionally, she stressed teamwork and continuity, while subliminally referencing opposition candidate Lorenzo Richardson as reason to elect her team to the Board of Ed.
I've been on the board for 3 years. It's been 3 different groups of people for those 3 years I've been on the board. And what I have seen is, as we have gotten more unified, as we are striving to be a highly effective school board, we are seeing more and more improvements. I have a real concern that if we do not have the right people on the board, if people are not focused on student achievement and staying with a laser focus on student achievement, if we get back to spending too much time on operational issues, and it's not to say operational issues are not important, it's just that we have to learn how to address those while we stay focused on student achievement. I have a real concern that we are not going to continue to see the positive changes we've seen, particularly with the implementation of the Common Core Curriculum Standards. That's another challenge that we have as a district. The National School Board has told us we need to prepare ourselves for a decrease in our numbers because of the rigor in the new curriculums. So there is a lot we need to be doing, and without the right people on the board, it's not going to happen. And I am personally concerned that everyone who is running may not be a good fit for the board. I know I had to be subjected to some very disturbing and offensive comments by another candidate who I remain questioning their ability to work as a team member when, because I do not agree, I should pull a trigger and end my life. I just think that's not what we need on the Jersey City School Board to continue what we need to do for these children.
I'm Michael Shuren with Hudson County View, the eye of the community.